Well, everybody, this is Don, the vlog of many things, and with me tonight are
Oh, me, yeah, Tenkar. Oh, sorry, I got confused.
Tom and
Steve.
I'm always
everybody. Hello, Thaddeus. How you doing tonight? We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff tonight. We have viewer email, a couple interesting ones in there. We're going to be talking a little bit about Goodman Games and the non-political, non-drama happening with that. And who knows whatever else we drag up out of the internets of
the
gaming
interwebs.
and beyond.
We got interwebs.
So how's everybody tonight?
politics. It's the most interesting topic in the world.
No, I had a sneezing fit right before we went live, so
That's
I was like, let me get this all out before we go live.
Chad Dickout, how you doing? Hope everyone's doing good tonight.
I don't know about that name.
I would just say Chad.
That's like that guy in Game of Thrones. It was a knight, and his name was Dickon, and the other guy there, Sir Bronn of the was like, that's an unfortunate name.
I would rate the Poro Chow. Can we get a red dot for pointing? May need it for tonight. Oh, so much going on.
Yeah.
Last week we were not. Chad, everybody gets a hard time tonight. Thank you for tuning in, by the way.
Yeah.
We went ahead and we had email last week that we did not get to. So I figured, why don't just start off with the email, call it a palate cleanser, because there's a few interesting emails in here.
Sure.
Viewers have questions.
Anybody? Any VGA PMI?
You know what? There's 1 to 2 prospects, but we'll just have to wait and see how the general consensus feels about it.
I mean, I had my anonymous email this week. I mean,
I was actually addressed in an email this week.
Yeah, you did a video on it.
So let's start off with I'm just taking it down the line, okay? That way everybody can kind of Nunzio, how you doing? Terry, how you doing? And Gong Farmers Local 666. Yahoo, here we go. All right. Jason from Minot, North Dakota asked, and this is actually a pretty good question, I think. He says, what, in your opinions, is the biggest threat to pen and paper games, and why do you think it is what you say it is? There's 4 awesome minds here.
all right, if you say
I'm
so.
talking about the viewer people watching.
Oh, okay. I got confused there for a second. I was
But
like,
I'm sure, but okay, we're going to go. You were a sergeant in NYPD. You technically outrank everybody. So, Eric.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what is the biggest threat to pen and paper games nowadays, and why do you believe it is so? This is actually an interesting question to me.
all right, so here I'll talk about the elephant in the room, Baldur's Gate 3. All right, because people think Baldur's Gate 3 is a role-playing game, and I'll be honest with you, if you're like a YouTuber and you say, "Hey, my channel is about gaming," and then you want to do a sub thing, you can't say tabletop games, you can't say RPGs, plain, you can't say D&D. It's D&D Alliance or it's Baldur's Gate. Because to a lot of normies, role-playing is computer games. So I think, to me, that's the biggest threat. But it has been since the 90s or the 80s.
It kind of crosses over to the reason why WotC, I think, had such a hard on, excuse my terminology here, for having the online gaming experience for people, because let's face it, a lot of people like the online app games now, and that's just it. Real quick before we get into you, Mr. Veralt, Zetron says the biggest threat to pencil and paper games is the declining attention span, intelligence, creativity of everyone, especially younger generations, because of smartphones and short format content. I agree, and I'm actually going to touch on that in my response. But
I think things change and evolve, and the attention spans, I would say, are probably linked to just television and the media that we consume, I think that has had an effect on that I don't think it's just, oh, geez, kids today are different. No, they're biologically the same as us. They have different experiences from us. They don't have experiences of going out in the neighborhood and modifying their bikes and doing ramps and wheelies and then coming home with scrapes and bruises that you hide from your parents. You're like, he's like, what happened? And you tell him some convincing lie so you don't get in trouble for what you were really doing to get those scrapes and bruises.
But they're being raised differently. That's the problem
yes.
also, and it does involve the attention span.
Yeah, exactly. I think things change, though, and I think things are going to change. And part of the problem is like I had a friend over today. We were sitting at my kitchen table, and so we had our meeting that we had to have, and then we were discussing gaming because we're both gamers. And I was telling him about some stuff I downloaded, and he was telling me about Kickstarters he wanted to get on. And one of the things he said to me, and I completely get it, is I like to have the paper product. I don't like reading stuff on my phone. And I totally get that because that's me. But we're of a similar age. And that's
a parental thing.
That's a product of our upbringing that we're used to the pen and paper books. We really do like to have the product, the hard copy product in our hands. And that's a little bit of nostalgia. And, some people our age completely are like, dude, I have it on my tablet. I'm happy with that. But I do hear from a lot of people of a certain age who are very nostalgic. They want to have that pen and paper product physical in their hands. I get that. But I think that will change because kids these days are used to having it on tablets, and they're going to be like,
well, because they're given tablets as little kids. I mean, my wife sees it all the time in school. Tablets are the new babysitter for kids.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And she runs into that a ton with little ones in her school. I mean, little kids having iPhones at 5 years old, 6, 7 years old. I mean,
40, 50 years from now, these kids are going to be like, get off my lawn about the holographic displays. I just want it on my pad. I just want it on my tablet. And, and pen and paper is going to be.
Yeah, but how does that relate to, though, what's the biggest threat to gaming these days?
Well, I just think times change and things evolve and things are different because people have different experiences. And I don't think you can, so I think it's, I don't know that if it's a threat, I just know that it's just evolution.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually
this from the preacher in the group. It's evolution.
Yeah, I don't think it's actually like an actual threat. I think it's more just a case of the nature of it is changing. Because I mean, when I was growing up, we had like record players and 8-track tapes. Now everything's online and digital for music.
More accessible.
No, but you're not listening to music as an album anymore, though, right?
That's true.
No, you're just listening to individual tracks.
Yeah. That's a whole different change. I mean, I used to binge listen to Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd, and now you're going through. It's like, oh, I'll go to Spotify or go to XM Radio, and you're listening to it.
Well, they use the excuse of convenience, and if you're looking to me as what is a threat, not evolution or what everything changes. We all know that technology affects everything. I mean, it's just how it is. The basic cell phone changed the way we communicated way back in the day. I mean, heck, I remember back in the day when my mom went from a corded phone on the wall and we got the remote control with the extended metal antenna, and I could actually walk like 20 feet into the next room and talk on the phone. That was like mind blowing. But if you're looking at what, like the question was, what's the biggest threat to pen and paper games? I think it boils right down to technology is the biggest threat. And it is the fact that, and if you really want to look at it even worse, I think it is the parents who are the biggest threat, not so much the technology, because as a parent, when our young ones were growing up, Alyssa and Sarah, there was technology available. I mean, they grew up, we have an 18 and 22-year-old, but they grew up reading books. They grew up, they didn't grow up with technology in their hands because we wouldn't let them have it.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is these days what parents do is parents have no problem giving their kids all this tech, and it's almost like it's pushed on them.
Yeah, it's like sit down, shut up, and don't bother me, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
so
Here's another thing to consider is, and I've seen this with books, and I've seen this with records and stuff like that. That for a while we had records, and then we had 8 tracks and cassette tapes and CDs and all this stuff, and now you're seeing people kind of do a U-turn back to vinyl. They have amps that have vacuum tubes and stuff like this, and I think what you're going to find is, yeah, we went one direction for a while, but now it's going to start going back the other direction. Maybe not with everyone, but you're going to start seeing a move back the other direction because, like ebooks were going to completely rule the market. And I remember all of the big fuss they had about that if you're not selling ebooks left and right, you're just going to get left out of the market. Now look at it. It's like it went up, and went right back the other direction because now everybody wants their stuff in hard copy paper. And I think you're going to see the same thing with pen and paper games is you'll see the digital equivalent go up, and then it's going to go back down the other direction because it's the same thing with why people are getting rid of smartphones. And well, maybe not everybody, but there's a lot of people that are going back to flip phones. And I know you're always yelling at me for getting a smartphone, Don, but there are a lot of people that are going back to flip phones to get away from the technology because it's constantly ruling their life. And I think that's a lot of what we're going to see too with pen and paper games is we're going to see a renaissance in that where people go, I just don't want to have anything to do with technology. I just want to sit at a desk, do my thing, and not have to worry about staring at a phone or a computer or whatever.
Scott Mulder says, once you get them with a handful of dice and a couple of books in the backpack, their eyes will be opened. The tablets are fine if they remember their charger. And that's actually very, very true.
And they don't remember their charger.
Exactly.
Yeah. Rob King from Lansing, Michigan asks an interesting question. Rob, and this is more of a Tom and Eric question. He says, what is the update on the larger, more expanded version of Blades and Sorcery? I really want to get it, but I'm holding out for the big expanded version. Gentlemen?
You're going to probably have to wait until after con season wraps up for us to be able to focus on it because it's been nonstop. And by the way, in my case too, and Rach can vouch for this, we've been doing a lot of gardening season. This is all I think that by 2 to 3 weeks out, see, we got North Texas and then Central New York con. And at Central New York Con, I'm hoping to play test a part of Blades and Arcana. I got some ideas that I want to put into action. So,
and real quick, Zatron, it is not Blades and Sorcery. It is Blades and Arcana.
Yeah, it was Blades and Sorcery, but somebody didn't like the BS. None of us on screen didn't like it. we all thought it was hilarious.
I sling BS all the time.
I play BS. Don't you play BS? I play BS.
I'm full of BS.
Oh yeah, that's so BS.
I identify as BS. I used to live in Massachusetts.
So soon, probably. I would probably say next year would be a good estimate.
We're not giving a date. It is what it is. Somewhere in between the timing, if you know my gaming friends, between Greg Christopher, who pumps out something every month, and Rob Conley, who takes 3 years. Somewhere in between those extremes is where we're going to be.
Now, Lewis from
somewhere in there,
Betherton, United Kingdom, got someone from the UK, says, what's the best board game you have all ever played, and what did you like about it over just normal RPG games?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm very partial, so I'm not going to touch a Wizard Tower product. I will touch other games.
I love Zombicide.
Okay.
I have the fantasy Black Plague version of Zombicide. I know it comes into sci-fi, and you'd think since I love sci-fi so much, I would have that, but I don't. But I love Zombicide for the cooperative gameplay of that game, and it's just a lot of fun, I just think.
Steve?
I don't think I actually have a favorite that I can think of. Not off the top of my head, anyways.
Eric?
From my classic era of gaming, so we're going to go back like over 25 years. Back then, the game when we played, then we didn't have a full table of RPGers. We would roll through Nuclear Assault and Chaos Marauders from Games Workshop. And any game that can make a group of 3 or 4 people laugh hysterically at your opponent's demise is a great game for gamers. Would I play that with my family? No. Maybe Ticket to Ride or some shit like that. But if you
But
telling,
you have to play right. You
Yeah.
mess with nobody.
yeah. But Rachel's like, you gotta play right. You can't look at people's shit. In other words, I gotta play it family way.
Aw.
You can't block people. Yeah. So
For me, I think it was, and this is not so much RPG related, but it was just my favorite, one of my 2 favorite board games, and that was Axis and Allies. I also
Ooh.
like Risk.
Oh,
Very, very
Yeah,
simple.
those are fun.
yeah,
Yes.
Risk I like so much. I actually traced out the board on multiple tracing papers,
Yes.
so I'd have a more portable version to bring with me to a
that's
friend's
so
house.
cute.
I actually,
Ah.
and this was the bad thing about Risk is when they first came out, they had Roman numerals, and then they
I-
came out with the armies themselves. I actually found for $5 at a garage sale the original Risk game with the Roman numerals.
I thought Roman
Nice.
numerals. I thought the
Nope,
Roman
nope.
numerals was the second. The first. I thought the first was the caltrops.
The first was the little wooden cubes, and I have that.
Oh, that's
Okay.
right. No, that was the '60s version of Risk. That's
Yeah.
right.
All right.
And
'Cause
then they came out
I
with.
have the caltrop version with only singles and tens, which were the stars, and then the Roman numerals came out
Mhm.
after that.
Uh-huh.
So yeah,
And we actually have Lord of the Rings Risk, which was a lot of fun as well.
They
Because
came up with a lot of versions of Risk.
you've got the one ring moving through the board.
Yeah.
It's an orc.
Yeah.
But honorable mention, and then we'll let Steve go, is the Tom Wham games that were in Dragon.
oh yeah.
Oh,
Elephant
Smith's
Hunt was a lot of
Revenge
fun,
and-
and Planet Busters. Planet Busters was a super amount of fun. I would kill to have a copy of Planet Busters again. That was a lot of fun, that game. I played a
Well,
ton.
Mr. Wham will be at WizardCon this next one. So
Well, I might have
Man-
to invest in
Man-
a out of print Dragon magazine to get a
your hands
Planet
on.
Busters game and have him sign it for me, maybe.
That's
Since
So
I am
Steve-
planning to be at WizardCon too.
So Steve does not plan on, or Steve does not have a favorite board game. So we'll go to our first possible troll comment.
Well,
Woo!
what about
You
favorite
got
card
a theme
game?
song for this one? Come on, I want a theme song.
What's
for the
that?
Trolls. I want a theme song.
Favorite card game?
Yeah, what about favorite card game? Do you got a
I
favorite
mean,
card?
I growing up, there wasn't really many card games. I mean, you pretty much had Uno.
You know.
I was a little bit too old for Magic when it first came out, and I never got into Magic or
Yeah.
Pokemon or anything like
I wasn't
that.
talking Magic. I was talking like cribbage.
Oh,
As far as classic card games, I actually liked playing a lot just classic Texas Hold'em poker. I also liked what's it called? Oh, it's not Spades. It was the other one.
Bridge.
Crazy Eight.
No.
I love Spades. Rook.
My wife used to play it a lot with her grandmother. It's where 4 people play. You team up with somebody else. I forget the name of it was called.
oh, I know what you're talking about.
think
And
it
it's
starts
kind of
with a
like
C.
Spades, but it isn't Spades.
Yeah. But so basically, we have a Lisa, quote unquote. Lisa's from Napton, Missouri. I think the state's more accurate. Word on various groups is DOS. I think he means Don. Don's convention.
Wait, don't misgender.
Or she.
Don't misgender.
Sorry, it's she. Lisa says word on various groups is Don's conventions taking guests' ideas from Dave Con. Can Don comment on this and not hop on this topic? I have not, and I will comment on it. Simple. When it comes to Dave Con, I wish him all luck in the world. I've got no animosity towards Dave Con. It's his convention. Knock himself out. I didn't start no shit last year. It was him. But as far as taking guest ideas, I don't know what they mean by guest ideas. I just simply invite people. Like we have several returning guests, and I have purposely not went after one person that he has listed as pending on his websites. Purposely, I stay away from it because I think it's real tacky to go after somebody else's guest.
But isn't simply asking somebody to be a guest infringing on
in certain
guests,
people
because-
in certain people's logic, yes.
Okay. Because I'm just saying, because there's a certain game company about guilds and judges that was trying to claim that they owned the idea to hexes.
Yes.
And I was just wondering if that was just like, I invited the idea of having guests to a gaming convention. And I thought
Yeah.
maybe they were trying to.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know why that's even kind of a question. I mean, it's kind of silly.
We don't have guests. We have special attendees. Okay.
Yes.
There,
Yeah.
So whatever, dude.
Yeah. Now, Vanderhoof from British Columbia asks an interesting question. When it comes to your vlog, can you give advice to someone like me on how to start a vlog? What to watch out for and what to do and what not to do?
Don't invite Don.
Don't invite Don.
Don't get in bed with TSR
All right.
2.0.
My first advice to you is start doing it. Okay,
Yeah, just do the thing.
Until you start doing it, you don't have it, and you can overplan it. Okay, but nobody's gonna watch what or listen to what you're doing until you start doing it. So you gotta start producing it. And are you going to screw up?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you need high tech? No.
No.
Should you get a microphone better than the one that's built into your computer or laptop? Hell yes.
Yes.
They're at $20. You can start at $20.
Oops.
But a decent microphone, whatever you got to do,
$15
decent
on Amazon.
microphone is lifetime better than whatever you got built in on your device.
Yeah, I mean, I'm using a gaming headset. That works really well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, I don't use a headset. I have a decent mic, which I don't need to use a headset, thank God. But I use a headset for years. Camera. You know what? You can get a decent camera probably for about $30 on Amazon. You can.
Yeah, I got one of the Logitechs.
I think also a really good piece of advice is kind of pick a more narrow niche subject. I mean, gaming. Okay, movie food reviews. Those type of channels that are more narrowly focused tend to do better.
Right.
Yes.
Than just all out whatever.
And the
Something
big
you're
advice I'm
passionate
gonna, but the big advice that I'm going to give you when you're starting out is get a rhythm. When I say get a rhythm, I mean my rhythm is I put out something daily. Right?
Mhm.
Some people are weekly. Some people are twice a week. Some people are every other week. But if you're going to be weekly, make it every Wednesday at 8:00 or whatever your schedule is, because people will look for it. People become
Have a schedule. Yeah.
People become creatures of habit. My habit, for me, things work best if I do things daily. So I'm either doing live streams or videos daily, and my audience knows that. But there are other channels that are once a week. That's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, I know I can go and watch this new video come out at 7:00 on Thursday, and you got people chomping at the bit to watch it. Well, that's how you become successful. So stick to a routine.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, Time Runner from the internet, you fools. I'll let you guys be a judge on possibility. You talk a lot, but you leave out a lot. Ooh. So why is it words on the internet?
Oh my God! Hold on.
I'm reading it, guys.
I know. But word on the internet used to be. I heard word on the street is
words, not words.
Words. I didn't pluralize my words properly. Yeah. Words on the internet is. Oh God! All right, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I had
let me read this. It's a little bit of it's a little long. You talk a lot, but leave out a lot. So why is it words on the internet is a lot was hidden about WizardCon? What the fuck is WizardCon? A lot has been hidden about 10 Car Civil Suit, and Tom has no content on months on his channel as if he's hiding. Why is this so? Hold on. What is happening behind the scenes that is so serious, so big word here, guys, so egregious that you all do not talk about the real news, the kind with your names all over it? post this question. You won't, as you cherry pick what you show, but me and you, my men, know it is here lurking, waiting on the truth.
Dude, my whole lawsuit is up in public. It's
I
all
was about to say,
there.
I thought that's kind of public, isn't it?
And it's public. By the way, you can listen to the oral arguments. I found them very exciting.
Yeah.
Actually, Don and I listened to them together.
Yeah, I
I
told
mean,
him.
it was inspiring. So, do I need to do a victory dance and a victory lap? I don't need to. You know, I like to be humble. So, you know.
So, Eric, your civil suit's public, so we got that answered. I'll answer WizardCon real quick. WizardCon was a public event. It wasn't private. If there was anything weird happening there, I'm sure that there'd be people on the internet talking about it. And if there was anything I wanted to hide, I don't know if I'd be reading this email.
Right.
I mean, I would no matter what, because we read everything. But the point is they're alluding to the fact that we're hiding things.
So
And
my
then
question is was this VGA PMI or was this Dave Johnson, the cockroach?
I don't know. I mean, they use a big word, egregious, and they spelled it correctly.
Oh, somebody learn how to use spelling check.
So it could be VGA PMI.
But the rest of the grammar actually sucks.
All right.
balls.
So, Dave, thanks for being concerned that I don't have a lot of content. Listen, I've had surgery on one knee. I've got surgery coming up on another knee. We've got some changes here in the house going on. I just have not had the time to keep up with content, and that's just it is what it is. So, I apologize, Dave, that I am not meeting your desire for content.
And Steve is not in this subject because they can't figure out where they can't find Steve because Steve doesn't have Facebook or much social media.
Yeah, Facebook don't like me.
How dare you?
So Zatrin says this to Eric. He says, at Tinker's Tavern, you should do a video that watches parts of the trial stuff, then gives the links to where people can go check it out
the
for
thing
themselves.
is, Z, my trial never. It was all paper. It's all paperwork. It's all filing.
Yeah, it's all it is paperwork.
The only part that was an actual, I don't know, debate oral part was the appeal, and why? Trust me, it was hilarious for me to listen to it because I knew the background,
Mhm.
but you're going to get bored out of your soul listening to two lawyers argue the finer parts of the law. One competently and one incompetently, you can decide which one is which.
Let's just say clown shoes.
Oh!
Oh, Tom went nope.
Well, Tom, he'll be back, I'm sure.
Clown shoes.
You know, one thing I find funny about this is that person who sent the email never mentioned anything about my channel. Like, you don't put up any content. It's like, dude, I put it up as often as I'm able to, because if you've seen my schedule, you would understand it.
Yeah.
Or understand why I'm a little slow putting stuff up, which I hope to fix, but we'll see.
So Tom, I think, is going to come back or try to. So,
well, if he clown shoes had him took him out, man.
Darn those crazy clowns.
Scott Mulder says, obviously that troll in the email is not following the show because Tom was out on medical and WizardCon was awesome. Thank you very much, Scott. And by the way, Scott was there, right in the thick of it. So, I mean, evidently, Tom must have pissed off the internet gods. So, Tom is gone. So, Tom is coming back in. Just a minute. Tom has made it back in. Excellent.
Yay.
So good.
I hope VGA PMI does not take credit for that.
It was all me. From beneath my troll bridge, I did it. I took him out.
To a certain extent, I've eliminated all videos from my channel talking about who I suspect VGA PMI to be.
Yeah.
And, but honestly, there's a certain part of me that actually kind of misses all the fun we have.
Don't worry. Goodman Games and other companies are going to be making up for it. So,
Vagina Man. That was my name for Vagina Man, VGA PMI.
So Columbia from Chicago, and Eric, I think this relates to your latest video that you did.
Oh, okay.
Says, why do you guys report so many anonymous mails when no one else does? Because we're popular.
Thank you.
Right. Listen, why do we report on anonymous emails? because they are amusing as hell.
Yes.
And listen, I'm going to put the ground rules down. If your anonymous email is like, dude, your stuff is great, you're not going up. If your anonymous
Yeah.
email is, dude, you suck, I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But when your anonymous email is full of like 9,000 typographical and grammar issues, and it's a rant of somebody who's likely on narcotics, I find it amusing.
Amen. And I'm talking about like
find it
lengthy
amusing.
on narcotics.
Tom's
You're
internet shorting out, dude. You're shorting out.
Tom's internet is definitely not cooperating tonight.
Yeah, not happy tonight.
But at any rate, when he comes back in, we'll let Tom back in. So the thing is I just think that the reason why there's so much going on is because there's also Columbia from Chicago, a lot of background stuff that happened.
Right.
Do we think we know who are sending these emails? Yes, we pretty much have down pat the
Hopeless individual.
Yes. So it will, I guess at the end of the day, it's like this. Bored people do dumb things, and a lot of dumb things are done. So,
Yeah.
But that was the emails for tonight, by the way, folks. So very, very easy peasy, nice and easy.
Viewer mail.
Viewer mail.
So, guys, I might need to restart my computer and then come back in.
No problem. We'll see what happens.
Third time's the charm.
So basically, there is other news that is happening between Goodman Games and Tom's gone again.
He's rebooting.
Oh, okay.
He's kicking the tires.
Okay. So the thing is, I believe that there's some drama happening with Goodman Games.
Yeah, right.
Eric, would you please give the quick overview of this? Because it's rather long, but I'll let you do the quick one.
All right. So in the way back, in 2014, Judges Guild kickstarted the CSIO, 60 the Invincible Overlord Kickstarter, and have stopped updating it after 5 years, and it's now over 10. We got nothing. That's the initial. Go ahead to 2020. Bob Jr. and Bob III, Bledsoes, at Judges Guild do a social media meltdown.
Bledsoe is part of Judges Guild.
He owns Judges Guild. Okay. Does a social media meltdown. Let's just say a lot of isms and ifs came out.
And we would show the meltdown here, but literally it is so freaking long. It won't fit on the screen.
You can do your own research. Just figure, if you want to be offended, you are probably going to be offended. I'm just saying.
Let's face it. In one post, what did he do? First of all, he said there'd be no politics, but he brought up the woke.
Oh yeah, this is today's update. Yeah.
Yes, he brought up the socialists. He brought up the religious far right, the Christian far right, the Christian nationalist socialists. There was very, very little that he did not touch politically.
Yeah, it was very much I don't talk politics, so here's my politics.
Exactly.
So what happened in 2020 after that was, two things. Frog God had a mediation which Judges Guild did not come out too well from, because they had a clause in their contract about, basically tanking business with your social media presence, or something to the effect. And then Goodman Games came out and made a statement that our current projects with the Judges Guild are the last projects. We're not doing anything else.
Eric, real quick, I don't mean to interrupt, but this has to start all over now. St. Cooper's arrived.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, screw you, man. Screw you. I'm going to go right to the end. So moving forward.
I tried for you, buddy. They won't listen to me. I tried to start over for you.
Goodman announces that, hey, we're going to do a DCC and 5e City State of the Invincible Overlord. And they announced this at their convention a few weeks ago. And then the internet went crazy, because what about the old Kickstarter? What about these people that are owed $85,000 or their shit? And lo and behold, Joe Goodman had to make some statements, and basically saying that we got a button on backer kit that if we raise enough money to pay everybody back, we'll end the backer kit at that point, so no extra money to raise, and no money goes to the Bledsoe/Judges Guild. And then today, and Bob Bledsoe had said Friday a big announcement's coming. So now,
Yes.
today was Thursday, right? Yeah, today was Thursday. I woke up thinking today was Friday. Maybe Bob woke up thinking today was Friday. Today is
And
Thursday.
again, that might not have been his big announcement. Maybe he's just
Maybe
ranting.
not. Maybe there's a bigger announcement than this one. Oh my God. Well, this announcement had many, many pieces to it. And when I say it had many, many pieces to it, these many pieces. Listen, have you been watching like the Marvel series on like Loki and all the threads and the
No,
timeline?
I avoid that shit like the plug because
All
it's
right,
so
well,
complicated and
just
convoluted.
think that just think that there's a reality, but then there's all these threads off reality. Well, this was like threads off reality because only one of these threads can be true. Okay, and I'm very confused because if we take things on face value, I would say Goodman Games, Joe Goodman, is a more believable individual than Bob Goodman based upon history. But plausibility, everything Bob says is plausible.
Yeah.
So, no, it's talk about murky waters. We are in murky. Somebody
But-
took a duty in the water and stirred it up.
But this is the problem with situations like this: is the situations that you run into. This is definitively a he said, she said, and we'll go back to a little bit of history here. If you take a look at what happened with New TSR and me as an example, or even Victor Dorso and me, I caught a lot of flack because last year or earlier this year, whatever you want to call it, last year, when I outed Victor on what he was threatening with behind the scenes. That's why I did it, because it was going to become a he said, she said. And sometimes you just need to come out with it and say, I know what I'm saying sounds a little bit odd. Here's the proof. And that's the reason why I'm a real big fan of things like video meetings and such, because when you record them and then a year later you get called out, they're very easy to refer back to and say, well, no, I learned this in my publishing business. And it's not necessarily someone's being dishonest. People remember things differently.
Mm-hmm.
We four can have a conversation, and 6 months from now, be privately sat down and said, "Tell me about your conversation," and probably four very distinctly different versions will happen.
Think of 12 Angry Men, classic movie.
Yeah.
But people will remember things differently. That's one of the first things I learned as an investigator.
Mm-hmm.
People don't have to lie to tell you a different story from somebody else. They can both be telling what they remember.
Yes. But the difference is when you are shown proof of what you said.
Yep.
Do you stick to your guns and say that's bullshit, Photoshopped as an example?
Yep.
Or do you just say, listen, I made a mistake? And that's the problem when you run to like with Goodman Games and such. Is I think what's happening, there's such big companies. These are not small companies. These are major players. They do lots of business every year, and these are major contracts happening in the background. And even for this to go public like this, I'm surprised to see it so public.
Well, all right. I have no background on this, folks. I got no inside information. I'm gonna spitball. So, put me into that classic odd couple. I'm gonna make an assumption and make an answer. You and me. But I think that with the number of videos that Joe Goodman has been doing, updating and communicating to people what the process is and how to get a refund, and how no money is going to the Judges Guild. It appears to me, this is just my view of what's going on, that Bob Bledsoe Jr. was like, oh, fuck it, I got nothing to lose. I got nothing to lose. I got nothing coming in. Fuck it. I'm going to say my piece and have at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's what we got. Now, do I know which version of reality is the true prime reality? Which one is Earth 1 as opposed to Earth Shazam or Earth 3 or whatever and DC talk? I don't know. I have no inside baseball.
I just want to point out that in Bob Bledsoe's statement, he said, "Listen to me. I am not lying." And when you got to say that,
I am certainly. I've
Absolutely.
done the best
Trust me,
logo,
I've
the
lied in
best
the
logo
past,
in
but I'm
history.
not lying now. Is
Yep.
what that really amounts to. You
Well-
gotta believe me. I'm telling you, I'm not lying.
Well, and that's the reason why written statements are so dangerous, because you can out yourself.
Yeah.
Because you put things down that are classic tropes to, and Eric as an investigator probably knows this better than anybody here. It's body language is
Oh,
really
yeah.
big.
When I lie to you, you might.
Tell them the truth. I swear, I'm telling the truth.
Or another
Normally
question,
I lie, but I swear
all
right
honesty,
now, I'm telling the truth.
When
you
I throw a lighted match in here, if Muggs was in here, you might, Rabbit. You might.
Well, like I said, I just think that I'm really surprised it's so public, because just something like this is just so. Usually, companies this big keep it kind of under wraps.
Well, again, what happens when somebody is cornered? They do one or two things, right? They fight or they flee.
Yeah.
And it looks to me like Bob is getting into fight mode. He's not backing down, and I am curious to see how this plays out, because as it stands, nothing good can come from this. Nothing good, because it muddies the waters, and until somebody comes out and says, "Hey, I got like Don was saying, hey, I got the videotape, I got the body cam, I got the screenshots, I got the conversation, I got the email chain," and then people go, "Oh, okay, then that's
Well,
until then we don't know."
and
Here's a good
again,
question.
this is where it can really take effect, because this is kind of like you mentioned body cam. Interesting thing is, we had a police officer in Grand Rapids here in Michigan. He shot a suspect in the back of the head while tussling. The man took his taser from him. Well, the jury was hung. It was a hung jury.
Okay.
The prosecutor announced today that they're not going to attempt to retry him, and the reason why is after talking to jurors, it was the body cam and the cell phone camera of the guy's buddies taking it that they just said they're not going to be able to convict him, because the guy had his taser, his hand on the taser, and you can see him trying to tase the cop. So the cop was in fear for his life.
Did what he felt he had to do to save his own life.
But that's interesting. You say, the body cam, because that's true.
Yeah.
It's easy to say Eric's a liar. This fucker's lying about me. But when Eric goes, hold on, Don, this is what you said. Here's your email. Now it's a whole different ball game, because now the onus is on me.
I'll give you a classic example on Eric. Eric said somebody was a criminal. That person took him to court, and then Eric produced the criminal record of that.
Yeah.
And that person was forced to admit in court that, yes, I am a criminal, after he was adamant, no, I am not a criminal. I am not a criminal. And then he had to, I mean, dude, you were convicted of a crime. You're a criminal.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to give you the.
Yep. I fully agree.
Again, so folks, giving credit where credit is due. This is on N-World. All right, Morris. The update raised some interesting facts. Joseph Goodman originally asked to make City State the Invincible Overlord in 2010. This is according to Bob's update. But it was not until 2022, 2 years after the 2020 social media debacle, which caused Goodman Games to cut ties with Judges Guild, that Bledsoe agreed to it. So there's a little bit of a time frame issue there. Goodman Games will be producing, according to Bob, 5 years of the Dungeoneer fanzine. That's Judges Guild has planned for a range of products, whatever. The charitable donations on sales of Judges Guild products on Goodman Games' website were being made after the 2020 debacle, but apparently were ended in 2022 because Judges Guild and Goodman Games agreed it was time for the guild to make some cash. So this contradicts stuff that we heard otherwise. So I mean, that's the issue.
This is
So-
mess. This is messy, man. This is going to get real bad real quick with those guys too, because both of them have the money to fight each other in court.
Well, no,
Don't think so.
no. I don't think Judges Guild has two pots to piss in. Honestly, that being said, when you got nothing to lose, you got nothing to lose, right?
True.
Burn it to the ground.
More power to them. So what else do we got? It is 10 minutes to 9. What else do we got in aiming internet lands out there floating around? I heard something about today. There was something on Facebook about WotC went ahead and they did some edits or modifications and rule changes. They kind of finalized a few problems they had in the initial 5e.2. Anyone?
I tried not to really follow that. I do know that there was some major exploits going on with the initial rules as published. Because game, listen, you can in-house test something all you want. When you put it in the hand of real fucking gamers, rule lawyers, asshole players, they are exploiters. Okay, they're going to find the exploits.
Well, if I heard that there was a spell that was in the new 5e, was sort of like the Uber Magic card. It was the spell was like could like invincible, like kill everything at level 1.
I think there was a spell that allowed like infinite heals or something like that.
Yeah, crazy powerful. And they had to they didn't fix it. It was just in poor playtesting. You know, they missed it.
No, nobody ever used the spell, so we didn't ever know what is happening with it.
But so I guess their fix to this was instead of like fixing it, they just nullified. They said the spell's no longer part of D&D.
It was so powerful. It was like the black orb or whatever it was in like the first.
I'm not a crook.
Take it out.
Exactly, Glenn.
Great historical reference.
Take out your black marker, kids, and cross it out.
Yeah.
If you're a cop, go to your patrol guide, take a pen, not a pencil, put a line through it, and then initial it, because it's no longer a valid rule in your patrol guide. I mean, in your DM's your player's handbook.
Well, and that's the problem you run into is to say, well, we're going to nullify it. You know, this isn't tournament magic we're talking about. We're talking about an RPG game that there's now tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of manuals out there. And it's got the spell in it. It's got the content in it. So players are going to utilize it unless DMs or GMs, as they're called now, have the balls. And excuse me, most of them probably don't. They play the newer games because they got to go black and white on this. Is make up your own decision and say, guess what? That spell's not allowed.
Well, but how much is D&D 5.5, 6, whatever you call it, being embraced? Because I know I think
it depends on where you're going.
Well, I know in the school system, because they've already bought books. They're not buying. They're not buying the new rule books.
But Tom, that's school's period. They're not going to rebuy something once they buy it. If it's good enough to work right now, especially D&D, they're not going to up the new version. I mean,
they're still playing 2014 D&D.
All right. Let's put things in perspective when it comes to like schools, especially public schools. When I went to school in 1985 as a high school senior, I had books that were probably used by my parents. Okay. Yeah. They were the same ones being sent back. You look at the names in it, and you're looking at dates from like the late 1960s. You're like, holy shit. So they are certainly not going to change out D&D books because WotC says so.
Yeah.
But on top of that, here I'm going to put things in perspective. We are all generally wired in. So when the OGL fiasco was happening, we were like, what the hell, right?
Yeah.
The vast majority of gamers had no fucking clue until it started trickling out because they weren't wired in. Well, guess what? Assuming the vast majority of gamers bought physical books, they've got no clue that the spell has been removed, and they don't care. And they are going to abuse the shit out of it as well they should.
Well, the Zatran says so much. He says, it stuns me that schools are buying D&D for students. I got in trouble for taking D&D books to school in the 8th grade. But see, there's the difference here. What's happening, again, it's a whole different generation. Now D&D is being embraced. It, like with my wife's school district, there's a couple of different D&D clubs. And in this general school system around us, there's several D&D clubs. So the value of it, I think, is what they're finding it is. But I think if you go to those D&D clubs, the majority of them will be playing 5e, because whenever you go to any local game shop, what's the majority of the games that they're plucking is 5e. So,
well, just to contrast, in my high school of 800 people, there was like 5 people who were outed. Okay, I was not outed because I kept my mouth shut for playing D&D. Okay, and the D&D club at the middle school that I was teaching at was 10% of the school. So it was 20 kids out of, it was out of 200 students, it was 20 kids who were part of the D&D club.
But that's a huge percentage, though, when you look at it.
I mean, I'm just anecdotally to say, here's the difference between the 1980s when I went to high school, and here's the middle school. It's a middle school. 10% of the students are playing D&D, whereas there might have been, the percentage. I've not done the math on 5 kids out of 800, but there were 5 nerds, and I didn't want to be hazed anymore, so I didn't associate with them, and I actually tried to play football, and
But the thing is, but on the same token, what you get into is you get into.
And he stepped out again.
I coughed and I knocked Tom out again. Oh man,
Tom has left the building again. So I get Tom's point. The thing is I think just these days, though, if you walk into any D&D club, the majority of them will be 5e, just because that is the current flavor. And the thing is, there's nothing really wrong with that. It's to be expected. But I don't see schools saying, "Oh, the new edition of D&D came out. We're going to go ahead and we're going to we're going to buy the new edition." It's just not going to happen.
Well, budgets are gonna be screaming, no, we already bought this once, we're done.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
But
Of course, the funny part was when I was in high school, we didn't even go with the D&D club. We built our own pencil and paper game. Well, of course, I wasn't one of the ones that actually built it. I just joined in with the fun, but yeah, we just went with our own spin of it.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, because the majority of people who played D&D, at least back in my day, if you didn't have the money for the modules and you didn't have the money for the Greyhawk adventure setting, what you did is you made your own.
Exactly.
You photocopied the hell out of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, or you just simply
more
made
money
it.
went for photocopying.
I don't know how many dungeons I drew and how many cities and stuff. Mr. Gunn makes an interesting point. He says, Don, gotta tell Tom's mom stop using his phone. His modem connection keeps failing. Tom, you on 28.8 over there or what?
Well,
14.4?
There's a toddler on her iPad right now. There's a teenager upstairs probably
burning it and just burning all the things up.
And there he goes again.
Right in midstream of him.
Don't change horses midstream.
Well, gentlemen, it is 9:00.
Dun dun.
So I think it's this is maybe a hint
We gotta
of
leave
powers above.
before Tom comes back. Let Tom come
Yeah,
back.
abandon ship.
We'll see if he comes back. There he is. So it is 9 p.m. The internet gods are not cooperating with us tonight. So everybody commenting, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you,
Been
folks.
an active chat. Had a lot of people. Tom is in the stream. So
And he's out.
He's all out again. So we will.
Yeah, quick, abandon him.
We'll try this again. There he is again.
He's in. He's out.
So you know what I think is going on? I think Oliviana's on her iPad going. Think.
One of these
I don't know what's
people is not like the others.
Well, she might have hacked the whole internet. Who knows? I don't know. We do have an internet extender, so all the portions of the house. That's. I don't know. I apologize.
Glenn Hallstrom says, Don, we're on at 1 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Don't tell Tom; he'll just drop out. Yeah, but It is a holiday weekend. Just some closing news, ladies and gentlemen. It is a holiday weekend this weekend. Gangbusters, the new edition, will be printed here. We're getting into printing this coming week, which means we'll be bringing them down to North Texas RPG Con. So, Mr. Hallstrom, you will have your copies to you delivered. Me and my wife will not be there for the entire time. We're just going to go there for a day or two. But we're going to go there long enough to meet some people, say hello, spend a couple days gaming, and that's going to be it. So we'll probably come down like on Friday, Saturday.
Good.
So, but we'll be bringing books with us and goodies.
Fantastic.
So that'll be good. Eric, you're going to be at North Texas.
I'll be at North Texas, and then the following weekend at Central New York Con.
Jeez, man, busy man. Tom, are
Yeah.
you going to North Texas this year?
No.
Okay, and Steve, you definitely are not.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so basically, Gangbusters is coming out. Me and Polly Kid's new game, Stars of Sales, is coming out in about 2.5, 3 weeks. And so that's really good. So got some releases coming out, some long awaited stuff. That's happy campers. And then once I get these 2 games printed and done, D20 Delvings are going to be flowing out into the internet. So everybody's getting their Krampus packs and their D20 Delvings, which will make Mr. Tim Cass extremely pleased.
There you go.
Let's see, WizardCon 2 is going well. We have a hell of a lineup. I'm not going to mention the individual's name, but last night we had a gentleman accept as a special guest. He will be handling the auction for us.
Yay.
He is a rather well-known auctioneer, so
Oh, really?
I'll be
Nice.
announcing his name this weekend.
Very cool.
Yep, so that's good. Bad Mike, you're still invited to WizardCon 2 if you got the time, my friend.
You've got the time. We've got the
Come on, Bad Mike. I'll bring
Yep.
Buffalo Trace.
You can go ahead and show up. Bring your brother. We'll have like a midnight thong auction with the Wet and Wild front and center panels and everything.
Oh, no. Once a year. That's all I can handle, man. That's all I
Okay.
can
Yeah. So lots of things happening. But everybody have a good weekend. It is Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
Mhm.
Fun.
And happily, my wife as a teacher. I think, Tom, your wife is the same situation as they have Monday off, and it's their last week with kids to boot. So, yeah, short
Monday
week
off.
last week.
Yay.
So, yeah. So
Sayonara,
my
folks.
wife is anxiously awaiting summer break because I guess the weather here has not been allowed to take the kids out to recess,
Yeah.
which makes my wife turn on the mean school bus driver mode. And as one kid called her many years ago, it's kind of a running joke with us. But yeah. And Glenn Hausner says, website up yet, Don? The new website for the convention is almost done. We want, it's a rather complicated site because we're having the ability for people to see the schedules, for people to get extended information on the special guests and that type of stuff. So look for that this weekend, and that's going to coincide with a couple other new websites. The new Wizard Tower Games website, which will be much more streamlined. And when there's a date in the new Wizard Tower Games website, it's going to be a novel thing happening. When the date says it's coming out on that date, it's going to come out on that date. Wow, imagine that.
Oh.
And we're looking for layout specialists and editors. We did a video. It's up on our website or on the social media. So if you are a layout specialist or an editor, email us at info@wizardtowergames.com or wizardtowerpublishing@gmail.com. Either one, love to hear from you. We are actively looking for people. Like, we're hiring now. We want people for layout and editing. So, bingo.
Right.
But gentlemen, anything else from you?
No, I'll be heading over to Discord, folks, so you can catch me
Okay.
on the Tavern Discord.
All right, gentlemen, thanks for coming on the video tonight.
Yep.
And everybody in chat, thank you very much, and enjoy your weekend. We'll see you guys at North Texas or beyond.